about 4 or 5 days. This finish is about 4 or 5 days late. This should have been the finish from the Coke 600 last week. I mean, this should have been that. I mean, this is what Chase Elliott should have gotten from that, and he's able to celebrate in Charlotte tonight, pending the impending doom coming tonight. Assuming he gets through inspection, which I would hope that doesn't go wrong for him, but I am recording this immediately after the Cup race. But yeah, so pretty good race all in all, though, for Charlotte, especially by Charlotte standards. We saw four-wide racing for a while. Kyle Busch ending up on the wrong side of that. Ended up 2 or 3 laps down throughout most of this race, but yeah, it was just a solid race. Not a whole lot of yellows. We had one there kind of towards the end for Timmy Hill, which set up a fuel mileage race for a few of the guys, like for example your Denny Hamlin's at the front, your Kevin Harvick, I know was one in particular they were talking about. Might have been short on fuel. Chase Elliott, who they reported was good on fuel. Turns out, I believe everybody made it to the finish on fuel okay. Of course, Michael McDowell not getting to the finish okay, spinning it across one lap down. Just point up the race results real quick. So yeah, so unofficially, Chase Elliott first over Denny Hamlin. Ryan Blaney getting third. I mean, that was a really good finish, and to be honest, one I feel like Blaney kind of needs to kind of start getting some momentum going for what I would hope is going to be that first win of the season. Stenhouse, from 0 about a week and a half ago to 4th place tonight. He is a hero for JTG Doherty tonight. I think that might be the team's best finish since I think it might be their best finish since that win in 2014. Maybe Chris Buescher got a really good finish. Oh, I know. I think AJ Allmendinger got third at the Daytona 500 a couple times. So not their best finish, but certainly one of their best runs in the team's history. Kurt Busch, 5th. I mean, solid day for him. I mean, that's what a lot of this race felt like, was solid days. And to be honest, that's one of the things, I'm going to get to that later, but that's one of the things that's going to kill the momentum for midweek racing. But then you've got Logano, Keselowski, 6th, 7th, Dillon, 8th, a good finish for Dillon. Truex, your first Joe Gibbs Toyota car, in the 9th position. Harvick, 10th, so yeah, so that's your top 10. Just going to go through notable finishers from there. Johnson, Byron, 11th, 12th, 13th for Nemechek, the leading rookie of the race. Even though Reddick right there to challenge. Christopher Bell, who I thought early on was going to be a contender for this one. Or not a contender for the win, but I thought he was going to be a contender for top rookie tonight. He finished 21st. Kenseth finished 1 lap behind the race. McDowell 1 lap behind the race. Kyle down. Wow, Kyle was only down 1 lap. Bowman lost 2 laps in the process. Bubba Wallace had an issue late, or had an issue kind of. It felt like that was kind of the midpoint. For Bubba Wallace, but Bubba Wallace had his issue. That brought out one of the yellow flags towards the end, but it was Timmy Hill's issue that brought out the final yellow flag that ended up setting up this fuel mileage race. So that's your top finishers. I'll also go through the fantasy results real quick. So the fantasy results, GL Racing taking the win over Bama Fan by 6 points. Amy D18 with a solid 3rd place. 4th, BJ's, and 5th was a tie between Snapped and Warrior at 161. Don't ask me how I did. 116 points, 11th on the grid. dead last. Thrasher Keystone tied for 9th. Joe Schmo and my dad Steve had a pretty good battle going. Only 2 points between them at the end of the day. But, oh my, that was a rough day for me in fantasy. I'm going to have some points to have to claw back from it after that finish. I know in the overall I'm going to be down some points there. And I did not need that. But yeah, so now that we've gotten through kind of the results part, I think at this point we've seen 2 of these midweek races. We haven't seen the TV rating from tonight's race, obviously, because it just got done. But this race is going to be impacted by, is going to be still impacted by the fact that there's no other sports going on, and that there's and that it's kind of the first. It's kind of the first in this trend of midweek races that a lot of fans and even drivers and other people around the sport, like Dale Jr., have been trying to promote as the future of NASCAR. And after last week with the controversial wreck at the end between Chase Elliott and Kyle Busch, I was thinking, oh yeah, that's a very big point. While I liked this race, and I feel like racing fans enjoyed this race, you're not going to get the general public excited about points racing. So you might be able to get me for midweek racing for the first few races of the season when everybody's going for it, or I think the biggest point where you'll be able to get me for it is probably right towards the end of the regular season, because the races still don't matter all that much to some of the drivers, but there will be a lot of people trying to shove it as far as they can to get as many points as they can to try and point their way in, especially this year where the playoffs look like they're essentially wide open. But like these early spring weeks, especially with the weather, the weather all throughout the East Coast, which is where the majority of the racetracks are, is always plagued by rain. Now, maybe you take a few weeks off here in the spring to try and let the rains roll through, and then you go and do some double headers, coming down the late summer, kind of getting into hurricane season in certain places, but then just kind of hammer through some doubleheaders somewhere else. You're not going to be able to avoid rain and hurricane season for the entire race season, assuming you still run 36 races. So I think that if they're going to run midweek races, though, early spring is not the time for it. I love it, the fact that there's only, 3-4 days till cars are back on track at Bristol, but this race, casual race fans will not stay interested in this, in racing, at least not based upon what we saw tonight. If it's points racing where where a lot of the guys were kind of just having solid points nights, just trying to not shove it in the wall too much, and where the field gets spread out. Now, granted, Charlotte has been a track that's been known for that, especially considering their premier race is the 600, which we saw last week, which is known for being the long endurance test. But even in this short test, it's not like the shorter race really produced much more excitement. The All-Star race usually does, because there's more on the line. And maybe we can make a case for the All-Star race being midweek in between the Coke 600 and getting another race in before the Coke 600. Maybe that would be something to do with the schedule. But for right now, it just seems like midweek racing, at least at some of the tracks like Charlotte, that aren't like, it's not a way to try and get through the quote unquote boring races quicker. Like, for example, Pocono, like what they were going to do with Pocono this year about making that a doubleheader. This has shown that this style of running 2 races in 1 week isn't really a product for an exciting race. I mean, the invert definitely made the invert. I'll talk about this because this is definitely a gimmick I could see it sticking, but in all reality, especially with doubleheaders going forward, I could see it sticking if we continue to do doubleheaders. If we don't do doubleheaders or midweek races, I don't see this format kind of sticking around of inverting the top 20. It does provide for some excitement, basically, because you're giving spots to guys that probably shouldn't have it, like McDowell probably shouldn't have been third on the start. DeBenedetto fourth. I mean, it was just kind of a lot of guys that you kind of knew weren't going to stay up there very long, ending up there. But yeah, so just kind of finishing up the point though on the midweek races. I like having racing, but my concern is the fact that NASCAR is trying to sell their product, which is the racing product. And if they're trying to pitch to sponsors or even TV partners of, hey, we want to do midweek racing in 2021, and they look at the numbers from Darlington, which was a 2.0 TV rating, and then tonight, which was I would say, less entertaining race than Darlington. Certainly you had less nonsense going on kind of all throughout the race, and you didn't have a controversial finish that got everybody talking about the race hours, days, a week later. All that drama with Kyle Busch and Chase Elliott, which, to be honest, is the best part of NASCAR right now. The Kyle Busch Chase Elliott drama, and if Kyle Busch had never misjudged that gap, we would not have been talking about any of that throughout it. So, I mean, to everybody that doesn't like Kyle Busch, you may not like what he did, but it has been the best thing for the sport the last week and a half. And I mean, to be honest, it will continue to be the best thing in the sport, probably all season, I think, unless Jimmy gets title number 8 or Chase goes and gets title number 1. Unless one of those two storylines happens, I think that maintains being the best story of the season. And I don't see it stopping anytime soon. I mean, who knows when Chase may retaliate against Kyle. He may never retaliate, and he may just kind of leave it there as a looming factor for Kyle to have to wonder, okay, is today the day? And how long is Chase going to maybe wait for that revenge? Because I think from Chase's perspective, first off, until tonight he wasn't guaranteed into the playoffs. And Kyle, I think pretty much everybody can assume he will probably be in the playoffs with a win. So doing something to him now doesn't really seem like it makes sense. Now doing something to him at Bristol or Richmond in the first round, while it would be very unpopular, well, actually probably very popular with the majority of NASCAR fans because it's Chase Elliott and it would be taking Kyle Busch out. It would be very unpopular with Kyle and his fans if you take him out in the round of 16 to try and eliminate him from the playoffs, but that would be when you could go to make that payback sting. But yeah, in the end though, without moments, with no real exciting moments yet from midweek racing, and only really having one more midweek race coming up, and that's Martinsville in between Homestead and Atlanta in a few weeks. It's just you're gonna be hard pressed to try and sell me and probably any Fox executives or even sponsors really on that race at any sort of actual level that's comparable to the real NASCAR, like to the level of the NASCAR Cup Series standards. So yeah, all in all, just kind of wrapping up this race. Massive congratulations to Chase Elliott getting his first win of the season, finally winning at Charlotte, even though he won the Roval. So yeah, he did win the Charlotte Roval, so he has won at Charlotte, but this was his first win on the oval. Only a 500-kilometer race, so it's not like he won the 600. But as Chase even said in his post-race interview, every win in the Cup Series is hard to come by, especially these days when the field is as competitive as ever. And I feel you've got easily 5 to 6 active Hall of Famers at the peak of their game. Because I would say Harvick, Kyle, Logano, Keselowski, probably Truex. That right there is 5 almost certainly Hall of Famers. Oh yeah, Denny Hamlin. I mean, that right there, 6 future Hall of Famers at the peak of their game right now. So, field as competitive as it's ever been. Great to see Chase win, especially after what's happened to him in the last 2 Cup races. Real quick about Chase Elliott winning the bounty and giving the bow. I mean, that was hilarious to see him kind of use Kyle's victory thing and basically making it look like he was trying to basically... It was hard to tell if that was a jab or if it was a homage to Kyle Busch, but in the end, I enjoyed it, even though I would love to have seen Kyle Busch run him down and keep this bounty talk going around the Truck Series for the next several weeks. When there's 2 more attempts at the bounty coming up, Homestead and Atlanta. 2 more races that Kyle had already committed that he was going to run in, so bummer that the bounty's over already, because that would have been a great talking point to have, especially with those 2, if they continued to race for it. But, yep, so I enjoyed this race, but I don't think it bodes well for midweek racing in the future. Let me know what you guys thought down below in the comments section. If you guys had any thoughts on this race, and I will see you guys in the next video, live stream, or whatever you guys decide to do with the rest of your day. And if you guys are watching this when it goes up, go to bed, because I'm going to be uploading this tonight. So go to bed, and I will probably do the same here very shortly. So have a great night, everybody. Goodbye!